Many years ago, I was teaching in a college, teaching the history of 20th century popular music from 1950 till 2000. It was a unit that I had to teach. Next door to me, teaching, is my mate Timmy Vegas. Tim is a dance music producer behind the group Soul Central, had a huge hit record across the whole world called Strings of Life, I'm Stronger on My Own. And Tim's next door and he's doing a lecture on dance music, history of dance music. I'm in my room and we are now talking about that sort of 1960s songwriter explosion that's happened with, you know, Bob Dylan coming out of people like Phil Ox, and then you've got like Joan Baez, Laura Nyro, genius, the genius of Laura Nyro. Yes, I know she's a genius. Yes, I'm aware of Laura Nyro. She does need a video from me. But do I know enough about her? No, I don't. Laura Nyro was the embodiment of that sort of post-Bob Dylan female singer-songwriter approach, which was personified most greatly, I suppose, by Joni Mitchell. On this video, I am going to be trying to explain my love of Joni Mitchell. But at the moment, I'm in that room, aren't I? And I am putting on Dylan tunes and Laura Nyro tunes. I'm playing them to the students, teaching popular music, the history of popular music. The best bit was playing the kids the tunes. You'd have a room of 20, 30 people. Sometimes, you know, we would really have the whole course in there. So I could be doing a class of 40 or 50 kids. And I became very aware that in doing this history of popular music, if I didn't go for the obvious and I explored the more esoteric, every time I played a track, some kid in that room, the light bulb was about to go on. So the tune I had ready to play is a tune off the album Blue called Little Green. And I want to utilise this track, not that well known, you know, by Joni, but I want to utilise that track and analyse the lyrics for you to really try and explain to you why I love Joni so much. Oh, I'm just putting the lyrics in my view now, ready to go. Now, the problem I used to have teaching this class, which I did every single year, and playing this tune, is in just reading out her lyrics, I would often become tearful. And I didn't want to become tearful in front of the class. And so I remember sort of biting a quivering lip trying to get through this stuff. So I put Little Green on. It's playing through my big speakers. Suddenly the doors burst open and my friend Timmy Vegas has left his class behind. God knows what he's told them, but he has left them. He bursts into my class and he throws himself down onto the floor in a praying position, going like this, saying, "It's Queen Joni, Queen Joni. We love Queen Joni." He must have said to his students, "Andy's playing Joni Mitchell, I have to leave now. Respects must be made. Respects are due of Joni." Why? Because she's perhaps the greatest songwriter of the second part of the 20th century. How heavy is Joni? Right? And why is she so great? Well, because she expresses how she feels. And it's so honest. It's not histrionic. She doesn't do it to try and get your, sympathy or empathy. She just exposes herself raw. Everything is exposed raw. And within that, she is able to talk completely down to earth at you, whilst at the same time being ethereal and esoteric and metaphysical. She takes the genius of Bob Dylan, but her love of vocal jazz groups like Lambert, Hendrick and Ross means that she adapts the sort of Dylan melodic structure to something that is far more sophisticated. That sound that comes out of that sort of coffee house folk scene in the 1960s, she then expands on. She loves jazz, and she tries to find a way of integrating jazz into her music, and that takes her on a journey, because her music doesn't follow the same structure as jazz follows. Why? Because jazz is based upon chord progressions, and the way you would approach a tune from a jazz musician is to look at the chord progressions. But Joni's chords are working in a different way. Her suspended chords are literally suspended, not just in their name, but in their nature, in terms of their meaning to the lyrics. Because Joni herself is suspended. Her personality is suspended in space for the whole of her career. For all the millions of records she said, she is unsettled. She is literally like a sus chord. What does a sus chord sound like? Well, it's the sound of the amen. I'm looking to see if I got my guitar around, but I don't. I will do it in my voice. Amen. Now, Joni only resides in this bit, the she's always there. It never goes to the man. And so she had to find musicians who could negotiate her way through. By the mid-70s, you know, it's the root notes. It's the root notes that root you. How can you have a bass? These early albums haven't got bassists on them. How can you put a bassist on Joni's music? Which means, how can you make it commercial? How do you put a bass line on it? You need a bass player who is not going to play the root, because Joni is rootless. And Jaco comes in. Jaco Pastorius combines that jazz fusion virtuosity, which is huge at the time, with Joni's songwriting, and creates a couple of albums, Injera possibly being the great album of that period, which are works of absolute genius that go beyond the barriers of music. Now, for me, I'm aware of these albums, Injera, Shadows and Light, you know, Mingus. I know about these albums. And so as a lad, to expand my knowledge, I went and bought Injera. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. Songs about Amelia Earhart, Jaco fannying about, no big solos, no like heavy drumming, and no like incredible songwriting. I didn't get the songs. I didn't understand it. I can tell you why I didn't understand it now. And it was because Joni's subject matter had developed to a point where what she was dealing with was so refined that I just didn't get it. So I wasn't a fan of Joni Mitchell. At some point, I'm in a record shop, and on special offer, they've got 2 albums, one called Hits and one called Misses. They're collections of Joni's tunes. I buy those, put them on the car, and fall in love, not with the jazz fusion stuff she did, but the early folk songs that she does. Right? I loved them. I understood it. The song shone through, and I became a Joni Mitchell fan. Eventually, I get round to buying Blue. I no longer own a copy of Blue because I gave mine away. Blue, like Jeff Buckley's Grace, there's a number of albums that I own, and then when I meet someone and they go, I've never heard Blue, I give them my copy. Blue is one of those albums that you feel you need to give it to people. On that track is a tune called Little Green. And that was a tune I was playing that day when Tim burst in and threw himself in a supplication mode to say Queen Joni. This, like many of Joni's tunes, contains a whole bunch of things. But I think in me focusing on this, it tells you something about Joni. And I'm going to try and get it across in the remaining 20 minutes of this video. So, Little Green is a song on the album Blue, and it deals with the subject of having a child and then giving them away for adoption. Now, is this something that Joni Mitchell is singing on from imagination, or is it from reality? Well, it's from reality, and she's actually describing an event which I think without this we would have had no Joni Mitchell. She started out as a duo. When you watch the film A Mighty Wind, there's a duo there called Mickey and Mitch, and I always wonder whether that sort of points to this male and female in a relationship sort of thing that existed. And the Mitch name is interesting because Joni Mitchell was in this group with her husband. She gets pregnant, he promises her all sorts of things and then does a runner, and she gives the baby away. And in giving the baby away, I think that creates a rootlessness that she then explores across all these incredible albums, changing the nature of music. So with that little bit of information, let's go through this line by line and see what is going on, because Joni's tunes are loaded. Right, so I will now start going through my exploration of this tune. Born with the moon in Cancer, choose her a name she will answer to. So here we have in that line very poetically stated facts. We know that when this child is born, right, and we know that when a child is born, you have to give them a name. She is naming this child, right? Something all parents do. And at start, she explains the motivation for naming this. Choose her a name she will answer to. You've got to give a child a name. They can't just have no name. So it's a pragmatic thing. You've got to give a child a name. That's the problem they've got. And this really shows up the situation she's in of having this child. The child's going to be given away. You've got to give her a name though. Right? Born with the moon in Cancer. Now, that is astrological. I don't know what it means. I've always assumed it means the child is a Cancer. But moon in Cancer could mean something else. Having the moon in Cancer means your emotional core is deeply connected to home, family, and your inner child. Because the moon naturally rules Cancer, and it is in this home sign. So here, by doing, and I've never checked this one out of what that would actually mean from an astrological point of view, but here she describes the great dichotomy that in being born in the moon of Cancer, this is all about being a mother, about being home, and her and a child. That is all contained in here, but this child's going to be given away. The next line, call her green, and the winters cannot fade her. Call her green for the children who've made her. They are going to call this child Green. And this name Green now has a meaning. It's a meaning that the mother can put onto the child. This child's going to be given away, but there's one aspect of power here, is she can name the child. Call her Green, and the winters cannot fade her. Right? All the way through Joni's songwriting, there is the idea that she is here in the summer, and the summer is all shallow and full of play, and she can do whatever she wants. But when the winter comes, she can't deal with it, because the winter means going home and snuggling in. So she wants to escape it, whether she ends up skating away down some river or whatever it is. The winter is not for her, because the winter represents harder times coming. This child in the future is going to have hard times, right? But these hard times won't fade her, because she is embodying in the child aspects just in her name. She is trying to embody aspects that she feels this child will need. She's trying to act like a mother. Call her green, and the winters cannot fade her. Call her green for the children that made her. Green having another meaning means you're inexperienced. Joni is 4 lines in, And she's explained everything about the situation, everything, what the parents are like, what she's like, how she feels, all of this embodied in these 4 simple lines. And then she says something which is completely different in tone, a shorter sentence, which mimics the first sentence, because the structure here is born in the moon in Cancer, really short, then choose her a name she will answer to. Call her green and the winters cannot fade her. Call her green for the children who've made her. Little green, be a gypsy dancer. What does she want it to be? This child that she's now calling Little Green. Little Green, she's talking to the child now. Little Green, be a gypsy dancer. At this point, I could tell you what I think that means. But I think the nature of the structure here is it's for you to decide what she means there. Because there is an emotional punch that I don't actually think I can put into words. Little Green, do you know what I want you to be? What I want you to be is a gypsy dancer. Let's move on. I don't want to say. I feel that I have to leave some mystery here for you to get it. This first verse is all sort of out there and vague, but she's saying so much stuff, but there's no real facts, is there? We don't know what's going on. What's actually going on, Joni? She does this, and she does it in a way where suddenly the tone changes. It's almost like just chatting now. He went to California, hearing that everything's warmer there. It's all warm in California. He wanted to bugger off to California. So you write him a letter and you say, her eyes are blue, and he sends you a poem, and she's lost to you. Little Green, he's a non-conformer. The dad's off, and it's a without being malicious, it's a terrible indictment on this bloke and the excuses. He went to California hearing everything's warmer there. It's almost like the grass is greener. Off he goes. Oh yeah, I've had the baby. Her eyes are blue. And so how does he answer it? With a poem. Oh, he's a poem. Pretentious twat. You want to punch him. She doesn't have to say that, but you know exactly what he is. A pretentious twat that was able to justify his bloody artistic vision and who he is. And marching off, I need to be this person. Joni's left here. And with that poem, once you see that poem, you know that in reality there is no connection between this bloke and the daughter. And so she's lost. The daughter's lost to you. Little Green, he's a non-conformer. Why isn't he here? Why isn't he my dad? Little Green, he's a non-conformer. It's damning. Then we get to the chorus. Just a little green, like the colour when the spring is born. There'll be crocuses to bring to school tomorrow. Just a little green, like the nights when the northern lights perform. There'll be icicles and birthday clothes, and sometimes there'll be sorrow. This really gets to me, and it's getting to me now. It always gets to me this time. So I came here thinking I'm going to do this video. There's no way I'll get upset on camera. There's just no way. The song's not strong enough to do that. My defences will be up, but they're not. The idea of Joni imagining this future for the child, it always gets to me. Just a little green, like the colour when the spring is... I had a realisation, which is why I took the week off. I realised I'm turning into Truman bloody Burbank from the Truman Show. You know, and as I'm crying here, I'm thinking two things. I'm thinking, bloody hell, Andy, you've done it here. This is proper YouTubing. Look what you've been able to pull off here. Proper emotion, true emotion. It is true emotion. I can't bloody burst out crying on, oh, no, maybe I can and I'm lying, I don't know. And at the same time going, you shouldn't be exposing this part of you. But what am I exposing? Nothing. You know nothing about me. All you know is that this upsets me. I don't know why. I think for many of us, however idyllic our childhoods were, when we do return to the early part of our life, there is trauma there always. And your mother does their best to try and protect you from it, but they don't always do it. And you don't understand that as a kid. And here Joni's so at arm's length and in such a desperate situation that all she has is the name of the daughter to try and protect her with it. And so she imagines this girl coming home and picking up crocuses, the symbol of spring, the thing that you want for your child to be eternally spring. And she's got crocuses in her hands, right? And then she describes the lights of the northern lights, you know, up in the northern hemisphere where it's cold, but there's this light there. Go, you know, focus on that. There'll be icicles, there'll be birthday clothes, and sometimes there'll be sorrow. It's the sometimes there'll be sorrow. That is pathetic, Andy. Bloody pathetic. Squeeze a couple of tears out for them, that's all right, but don't just go blubbing away like this. Twat. Oh, what a bloody big baby I am. Right, let's get on to the next verse, see if I can get through this without bloody another. I won't be able to. So here's the third verse. So we've gone verse, verse, chorus. Now we're going to do verse, chorus. Child with a child pretending, weary of the lies you are sending home. So you sign all the papers in the family name. You're sad and you're sorry, but you're not ashamed. Little green, have a happy ending. So here we've had this sort of quite mystical description of this child being born and the fact that the mother wants to protect her. And then an indictment of the father with all the, without that indictment, then you have with the third verse, her predicament. Child with a child pretending, oh, I'm a child, I was a child pretending, you know, I was saying these things, but in the end, she could not keep this baby. In the end, fate had decreed to her because of the man. It's vicious what this is about. Little green, and this is the last bit of message to her from Joni. Little green, have a happy ending. And then we get the same chorus again that I'm not going to ring out. I'm not reading it out because it'll get to me again. This video was to try and explain why I love Joni Mitchell. I'm glad that it has answered the fact that people go, Andy's interested in music. He doesn't understand lyrics. He's not got any interest in lyrics. I think hopefully I put that idea to bed. And the thing is, whatever this unearths in me, even though I'm now joking to you, it's there. And it's not going to go. We all carry these things. I might not carry what Joni had, but Joni's trauma, which was the trauma that we all have, she was able to describe. And she was able to pick it up and show it from so many different angles. As she grows older, this story becomes the story of her life. And then, I imagine 25, 30 years ago, maybe somewhere around about that time, there are intimations that she could find this daughter that she's given away. And she makes contact. And from there, they rebuild this mother-daughter relationship. I don't know much about that at all, but I know it happened. And at that point, Joni Mitchell's aesthetic fire goes out. She'll redo her old songs. She'll come out and sit in her little throne and everyone will clap her and say how wonderful she is. And we all do love her. But was over for her. Joni Mitchell, I've done a video on Kate Bush, and I think when female creative energy is properly exhibited through the arts, is properly utilised, is in evidence, it's unbelievably powerful. With Kate Bush, as soon as she has children, that light goes out. And with Joni, I think it's the same. And I want to say it describes something which I think is the case, that feminine creativity is almost like it's the yin to male creativity. My creative sort of fire, and whether I'm a bloody able enough to produce anything that is at this level, of course I'm not, you're not, but I have to create. And I'm nearly 60 and I'm still creating now every single day. I have to do it. Some women don't have children, so maybe they can create. Creativity, though, I think with women is wound into the fact that they can have children, and it's a different type of energy. The energy we see often is the vamp. It's the femme fatale. It's the, you know, whether it's Madonna or Blondie. It's the musical and physical embodiment of the game that we play as young people. Negotiation to find that correct person to settle down, and that gets subverted. We have the idea of the heroic male, you know, going across each continent, you know, bedding, you know, women as they go. It's all become very questionable as we exit this era that produced this. This has none of that. There is none of the misogyny that is so apparent in the classic era of rock and roll. But Joni doesn't do it by applying some bonkers identity politic to try and rebalance it. She does it by expressing entirely who she is in an honest way. So I suppose I sit before you not feeling like a proper man, blubbing in front of you. Should I show this to the public? Is it a part of me? Because what am I scared of exposing on this video? My feminine side? When I did the Kate Bush video, my conclusion was that it gives the whole world, in loving Kate Bush, it gives us an ability to explore that side, men or women. Here, it's the same sort of thing. Art speaks to us. How do women think about Joni Mitchell? Are they closer to understanding it in a direct way? The trauma that we have can often be approached in you yourself becoming the mother to yourself. To imagine yourself in that traumatic situation. And when you say to someone who is reliving that traumatic situation with a child, you say to them, what would you do if you were the mother of that child and you saw that child in that place? And the person will go, I would take them away. I'd remove them from it. And often when people think like that, that trauma that they have, they burst out crying. And afterwards, an aspect of themselves is put in its place. I went through a process of realising this. I went through many years when I was having counselling of crying about the fact that I needed someone to take me out of a certain place at a certain time. This song is about that. The whole of Joni Mitchell's career is about that. I'm coming up to the 30-minute mark. This has been a video like none other. You know, I've taken a week off. I've come back. I've done one of the most aggressively hateful videos, full-on hate, like proper hateful video today. And I've also done this video. And when I saw the Joni one on the list, I thought, I don't want to do that. Shall we do that later? But I've done it. I've gone there. You will see this. I think I've explained why I love Joni Mitchell. Which was the intention. Thank you for watching this video. See you on the next one.